All right, so look at lesson 1, and we're going to talk about frequency distributions and how to graph them. Now, frequency distribution is just a fancy word for a table. Okay, so I'm going to make a table of a data set, because what I want to do is try to figure out a pattern for my data set. Okay, so if I want to figure out a pattern for my data set, let me give you a data set. And this is just going to be a random list of numbers. Don't really worry about at this moment what it represents, but later on we'll put some meaning to it. It could be something as easy as age, height, weight. It could be a grade for an exam. It could be something like blood pressure. It could be temperature. Anything that you want to measure by a number, this is what we're going to use. So I'm going to make a data set, and it's going to have the following random numbers: 1, 2, 4, 5, 5, 6, 2, 2, 2, 4, 3, 3, 6, 1, 3, 1, 3, 2, 5, 2, 1, 2, 3, 3, and 4. I should have 25 numbers. Let me double check and check on your list as well. Okay, and I do have 25 numbers, and the biggest thing about statistics is if you write one number wrong, it could affect the entire problem. So your detail, make sure you pay attention to that and you don't get anything mixed up. Okay? But first of all, let's just make a table for this data set. We're going to call it a frequency distribution. So when I ask you to make a frequency distribution, no big deal, just make a table. Now, let's say that this represents number of siblings. And it could really represent anything, but let's say this list represents 25 people were surveyed, and this was the response they had for the number of siblings that they had. Okay? Now, looking at the list in general, I can't tell any major features. I see some numbers repeat. I see 1, 6, so somebody had 6 siblings. I see, cases of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 siblings, but I don't really know a pattern just yet. And I'm hoping the graph will tell me a pattern. Okay? So I'm going to come over here and make a table. And on my table, my left column is going to say number of siblings. So whatever your data set represents, you're going to title that column that value. So number of siblings, whatever the name is.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yep, and you're going to list out the answers. So here are all the answers that the surveyed people gave you. 1 sibling, 2 siblings, 3 siblings, etc. So you list them out, and you would want to list them in numerical order too, because you want to make this table easy to read. So then what we're going to put next to it is how many times somebody said 1 sibling, and how many times somebody said 2 siblings. Okay? The fancy word for this is frequency. All that frequency means is a count or a total for that group. Whoever said 1 sibling, how many people said that? Whoever said 2, how many people said that? And I'm going to list it out. Now, just so we don't get confused on the numbers and where they are, I'm just going to put some lines. But if you're on note paper, you don't need this really. But look back at your data set and count how many times a 1 appeared.
4.
And actually occurred 4 times. Okay? And sometimes you may want to go through and kind of mark somehow what you've took off the list. You kind of decide how you want to do that, but you want to keep a running count of how many times 1 happened. Okay? How many times did 2 happen? 7? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay? So far, that seems to be the most popular answer. Okay? How about 3 siblings? 6. Very good. So 3 siblings happen 6 times. How about 4 siblings?
30.
3 times. Very good. 5 siblings.
30.
And 6 siblings was 2. Now, again, when I wrote the data set down, keep in mind I said I wanted to double check that I had 25 data values because that's how many I knew I had listed. Want to make sure I didn't leave anything out. Can you check this column and figure out 25 as well? Well, sure, you can add these numbers together. You see you have 25 items in your data set. Now, a typical variable name for this is N. Okay, go ahead and get used to that. N means how many items are in your data set. So go ahead and get used to calling N your total amount for your data set. But that's a frequency distribution. Nothing too hard about it, it's just a table. But what's the benefit of the table? Automatically I can tell you the most popular answer was 2 siblings. What about the second most popular answer?
3.
3 siblings. What was the least popular answer?
6.
6 siblings, okay? Is it that obvious in this list form?
No.
Not really. I mean, I can sit there and go through it and count, but if I had the table already, do I have to count this list? No. And I want you to think about everything that you do on a worksheet or a practice problem or even on a quiz or a test, that when you're doing this so that the reader can follow you very quickly. And they don't have to think about it. They can quickly say, ooh, 2 siblings was the most popular. Okay? So you're trying to make it easy for the reader where they won't ask any questions whatsoever. Okay? So that's what a frequency distribution looks like. It's just a table. Now I'm going to erase the data set, but I'm going to leave the table up here because I don't need the data set anymore. Okay? What I want to do is to turn this data set into a picture. Okay? Now, just to give you a quick idea of what kind of picture I'm talking about, there are several kinds. We're not going to draw this one in this course, but if you ever take another statistics course, you may talk about a bar graph. And notice that as I draw these bars, and I would label this graph and give a lot more detail, but you notice that the bars don't touch. Okay? That is for data that is words or colors or descriptions. Male, female, overage, underage type thing, you know, anything where it's definite categories. Colors of M&Ms, colors of Skittles, whatever you want. The kind of graph we're going to draw is what's called a histogram. Now, to give you a quick picture of a histogram, it's going to look very similar to a bar graph, except the bars are going to touch. And I'm trying to draw them about the same width. I'm not having real good luck on some of these, but they should all be the same width. So this one's a little too skinny. You can make that one a little bit bigger, a bit wider. Maybe that's a little bit too wide. But I want to have bars of the same width, and I want them to touch. The reason they touch is because this is for data values that are numerical, that you can put on a scale. So you'll put the 1 right next to a 2, right next to a 3, right next to a 4. Okay? That's one type of graph we're going to draw. And then the other type of graph that we're going to draw is called a frequency polygon. And you might be able to see the histogram on the back, but let me show you what's going to happen here. In fact, let me etch it very lightly. Frequency polygon comes from a histogram. In fact, let me change colors. On a frequency polygon, you would take each little bar at the top and the middle and put a dot. Okay? And then at the end, you put another little dot equally spaced away on the axis. And then at the end down here, you do the same thing, kind of equally space it away on the axis. Okay? The polygon part, because this tells you frequency, how high those dots are. The polygon part comes from connecting the dots. Like that. Okay? The reason we call it a polygon is a polygon means you have straight side segments. So I have a straight segment here, straight, straight. Try to draw little straight segments to connect each dot, but you just connect the dots. Okay? But once you've drawn the histogram, the frequency polygon will be just kind of finishing up on a second picture, showing you the same picture, just in a different form.